because I was so impassioned about wanting to make a difference, to the world at a time, because very few, egotistic as this may sound, but very few people truly understood what the world's going through. I did, because from 30 years ago, when I was running an R&D department and looking at the philosophy of science, I wanted to step back, go meta, and go, so what's going on with science? If I'm doing research and development in productivity, human productivity, for the organisation I work in, what's the nature of science and what's going on with this rate of change? And so I saw all the graphs, I read all the books, and I saw the stuff, and I saw the predictions. And back then, 30 years ago, the year 2025, which is
felt a long way away.
Felt a long way away, and then slowly but surely. But all that knowledge of humanity was coming to a really important tipping point in this local time-space continuum, where everything was going to change. It was going to go to this, what they, as you know from us, is known as the white hole in time, rather than the black hole in space. It's a white hole in time where information explodes exponentially. And humans, it's not information for humans, it's information for AI entities that humans have created that then take over, and then, we don't know whether or not we're opening a Pandora's box that is going to destroy us or is going to create, heaven on earth. I look at people's lives, Suzanne, and over this last 12 months I've had a lot of chance lying in bed, not much else I could do other than try and transcend the suffering I was in. So I had a lot of time to think. When I looked around at people's lives, especially like I'm lying in a hospital bed, and I watch these people come in and work every day, tired, bedraggled, doing amazing things, especially as nurses in an oncology ward. They don't get much time for their own lives.
No.
They spend their whole lives working and getting ready for work, and then, feeding and sleeping and doing all the things they need so they can turn up to work. And then they get a weekend and a couple of weeks a year to live their lives, on their holidays. And by the time they get their weekends and their holidays, they're, stuffed. And I just thought, that whole way of being can change with what's coming. So, but it needs to be shepherded, right?
Well, the whole structure of economy and everything needs to shift as well to accommodate it.
Everything needs to shift. At the deepest philosophical level, a focus on wisdoming and bringing the human spirit alive is what needs to drive society, and it doesn't currently. And if we shepherd in AIs that amplify, all systems are amplifiers of human process, and if we amplify the human processes that are extant at the moment, which AIs pattern recognise and model off and do that. It's like the AI that I read about only a few weeks ago. This company gave it all of the Google books, because Google have digitised nearly every book, gave this AI, let it read all of the books that have been digitised and learn how to interact with humans from that. And they wanted to do that so that they could use it for call centres and interacting with humans and as a system to influence human behaviour. That they would have conversational bots that could influence people. And what they discovered was this thing was so dangerous that they actually realised they couldn't release it onto the internet. And so they've restricted it and only put out a very restricted version of it, because what they found was that the bots started lying and deceiving and manipulating people really super effectively with false news, with things just to get whatever behavioural outcome they were
because
they were
it's
after.
Also read all the novels and fiction that...
Yeah, because if you analyse the majority of novels and fiction are all about plot arcs of protagonists and deception and death and destruction.
Because that's what makes a good story.
Because that's what makes a good story. That's what attracts human interest, because we're optimised to, pay more attention to negativity and danger and all that sort of stuff than positivity. And that's why there's no positive news television shows, they just don't sell. Positive news papers don't sell.
So what's your bit of wisdom then for the people who are coming through, passionate about mBraining, potentially?
I think it's co-support. One of the things I would love to see, and I wish we had a good way to do it, is to support each other in our businesses and our practices and in spreading MBIT. And if we weren't coming from a sort of must look after me scarcity model first, but from a MBIT based wisdom generosity model, we need to turn around in humanity. We need to turn around in the consciousness. Because the brain that thinks changes itself, and every time someone thinks in a narcissistic way, it changes the structure of the neural connections at head, heart, gut, autonomic level, sexual level, so that they become more, increases the probability every time neurons that fire together wire together, it increases the probability they'll fire together and continue to wire together. So, unless we can get this shift, and we can only get it through co-creativity and community, supporting each other and doing the opposite of narcissism and selfishness. And I know that most of the stuff I'm doing will actually not influence humans, but will influence AIs ultimately, because AIs will be reading every book that's out there, and the more books that are out there on things to do with MBIT, or the ideas behind MBIT, and the practical how you do the human spiriting, the more of that's out there, the more it'll influence the AIs.
So the co-creativity also includes AI?
Yeah, in my mind it does. Mm-hmm. I'm co-creating with AIs. So, and for AIs. Or shall I say, I have to change that because it's not I, it's we. We are co-creating for AIs. Mm. Whether anyone else realises that in the MBIT community yet or not is beside the point. That's what we're doing, Mm. So, in the fullness of time, I think the importance of those, other two brains, the autonomic and sexual brains, and their highest expressions of calmness and coherence and co-creativity, organise in deep ways the other three highest expressions of compassion, creativity and courage. And that ultimately we do things like, ultimately we do compassion for co-creativity. That's why we do it. And compassion has a purpose, and its purpose is that we can kindly care about each other and forgive each other's foibles so that we can co-create together and produce the societies and things that we have produced, but also the societies that we want to live in. Co-creativity is the ultimate end purpose, I think. Compassion needs to be guided by co-creativity. You're being compassionate to help others create with you. That's what I wanted. I wanted master trainers and trainers, etc. All of whom I feel, every one of us is, co-creators in this community of MBIT. Every coach, every person who reads mBraining, we're all co-creators now. And if we do that in community, supportive community, then MBIT just keep going. Highest expression of myself, I remember down in Venus Bay when we were designing the book. And that night and that morning when I woke up and said, what's the most compassionate, creative and courageous me? What would that be? And then I recognised, it'd be I got the knowledge and skills and wherewithal to take this model and spread it across the planet, and that would be the most compassionate to help humanity at a time when I know, because I knew all the exponential curves and all the rest, and I had been, of course, trying to do my best up until that time anyway, which was, by writing books like the Avoiding the Enemies to Happiness book, by studying positive psychology, by doing, NLP-based leadership trainings in large organisations to try and get more generativity into society. But it was, MBIT brought science to ancient wisdom, and all the sorts of things that you normally couldn't put into trainings easily. So I actually think we're going to find over the next, 100 years, 500 years, whatever, that percentage of sociopaths is going to increase. And so we'll have a society run by AIs.
And sociopaths.
And sociopaths. And that these sociopaths will be increasing in numbers.
And yet, to put a positive spin, there are pockets of people pulling so far away from that.
Yeah.
In growing numbers.
Yeah, like the MBIT community.
Yeah.
There are people who are going, I don't like where the world's going, and I've got the ability to do something about it. And even if my little bit's only a drop in the ocean, throwing one starfish in, but in co-creative community, when we find each other and work together, we have this synergy that creates a power that means that it's not just one starfish we could throw back in the water, but literally we can save all the starfish. So, you know, there are these counterbalancing things
Yeah.
that go, there's some rather yucky, nefarious things happening in society, and there's some amazingly wonderful, positive things happening in society, and it's a kind of war, and it's a teeter-totter, it's a, you know, there's a balance, and it swings one way and then it swings the other. And over time, if you look at the history of the world and humanity and evolution, it's definitely getting better. And with sociopaths and AIs running it, AIs modelled off, you know, what sociopaths are, which is just a head brain on two legs. Runaway head brains is what sociopaths are. Anyway, I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic that that what we're doing is making a difference, and will continue to make a difference, and will grow. It's a seed crystal.
Yeah.
And as the tipping point is reached, as the whole environment's ready for it, it'll just suddenly change overnight.
Yay.
Though, you know, depending on which, like if you read the Bible and Revelations, or you look at Buddhism with its, you know, the future Buddha, Mashaya Buddha, etc. There are numbers of spiritual traditions that said that humanity's got a trying time coming.
Well, I think we're already in that to some extent.
At
least at the start of it.
We're at the start of it. I think this tipping point of change of the exponential curve is we're at the start of it.
Yeah.
And that humanity will likely be enslaved for a period of time by all these technologies and things that will. We won't. The young people who are in those narcissistic places and swamped by these worlds of augmented reality, that they, you know, will be. Their life will be a game, because there'll be no work, because our eyes are doing all the work. So, well, there'll be little work. There'll still be some work, you know. But it'll just get less and less and less. But I'm hoping that, you know, the knowledge of mBit and the ideas of mBit and the attitudes of mBit will creep into different AIs and different programs and platforms and ways of doing and being. I'm trying to go with the long now, you know. For me, what I'm doing now is not just about what's happening on the planet now for people's lives. What I've been wanting to do is for the future of and not just humanity, but intelligencing in the universe. You know, guiding in the universe. And to me, the whole mBit, etc., is planting seeds that are, you know, about humanity and intelligencing's destiny. So, just, you know, we're just one voice amongst many, all start to find and say the same thing. You know, I think we're going to get there. And yeah, maybe 1,000 years of hell on earth before we get there. I hope we can make it shorter, and I hope that we don't even have 1 year of it. And yet, even if it is, as long as we've put in place a trajectory that gets humanity there eventually, then I think it's well met.
So you've just blown my mind again. Having gone from what you said was too big a vision and moderating it.
Yeah.
You've just gone to an even bigger vision.
Yeah. Well, it's been my biggest, that's been the whole of my vision from the beginning. And I could say that really the whole of my life has been a trajectory towards it. Everything I've studied, everything led me to think these things, and I couldn't share them with many people because, you know, well, as you saw in Master Trainer, how many days of putting stuff up did I have to do just to be able to draw them all together to make a point that would be impactful enough that you'd want to change your, you know, orientation and life around. You have to understand the problem to know why you need to do the work to do the solution.
The big why.
Yeah. And it's going to hurt, and it doesn't feel comfortable, and it's going to create cognitive dissonance. And that's what I've been living with for the last 20, 30 years, because I've been studying this stuff, and I know, and now it's at a time when it's actually real. Before it was all theoretical. It was going to be in 20 years' time. Now it's actually happening freaking now. But now is the time when we're releasing, you know, the arrow. And that's the time.
I use that metaphor a lot.
It's so right, you know. The only time you have to influence that arrow is as you release it. Not when you grow in the tree that becomes the bow and the arrow. Not once it's firing, because it's going faster than you can ever travel, so you can't influence it. It's going, once it's left the bow, it's going to go where it's going to go. But just as you release it, there's microseconds before, and even just after, you can still influence it a little bit, but it's that tiny, and that's now. And on the exponential change, that's now. We're releasing this vertical growth rate arrow of, you know, it's knowledge in the local universe is going firing like an arrow. infinitely fast.